As you progress through your JavaScript career and journey, you're going to realize that programs require you to do a lot of math. In this lesson, we are going to be looking at how we can use math to build a program in JavaScript that will tell a user how many days they have been alive for. But before we can do that, we need to learn how to do basic math in JavaScript. So let's begin. To add numbers together in JavaScript, we use the plus sign. A fancy word for the plus sign is also the addition operator. So here we are adding 9 plus 3. If we wanted to subtract 3 from 9, we would simply use the minus sign. If we wanted to divide two numbers, we would use the slash sign shown like this. To multiply two numbers, we would use the asterisk symbol. Calculations in JavaScript are usually done when we take input from a visitor and use that input to come with our final outcome. Take our program that will calculate how many days you have been alive, for example. We are going to need to prompt the user and ask them for their age. Then take that number and multiply it by how many days are in a year. But how do we write that in code? Before we can do that, we need to talk a little bit more about doing calculations with variables. Let's say, for example, we were creating a game where a plumber had to save the princess from a giant turtle in his castle. Every time our player would grab a mushroom, he would gain 1 life. We could write something like this. Variable lives equals 3. Lives equals lives plus 1. What this line of code is saying is our variable lives is first equal to 3. We would then insert the second part of the code whenever a player collected a mushroom. It's basically saying lives equals the current value of lives, then adding 1 to that number, then the final number will be stored back in the variable lives. So at the end, lives would be equal to 4. There is also a shorthand version for adding in JavaScript as well, which is as follows. Lives plus equals 1. You can use either version you like, just pick the one that makes sense. So we're going to stick with the basic version just so you understand what it means. I have included a reference page in the external file as part of this lecture you can take a look at for a full list of shorthand syntax for doing calculations in JavaScript. So let's build a program. The first thing that we are going to need to do is we need to figure out what the visitor's age is. So we're going to have to prompt the user what their age is. So to make a variable, call it visitor's age, and then write the prompt command, something along the lines of asking them for their age. Once we have that all figured out, we could then create another variable, and we're going to call this one years alive. Basically, what this variable is going to do is we're going to take that string that they entered in and convert it to a number. And parseInt does exactly that. So we're going to take our visitor's age here, insert it in the brackets here, and basically what this is doing is we're taking our visitor's age, taking the string from it, converting that string to a number, and then saving it as years alive. So now that our string is saved as a number, we can actually do some multiplication with it. So the next line of code, we need to take the visitor's years lived and multiply it by how many days are in a year. Okay, so now we're going to do our math. What we're going to do is we're going to take our years alive variable and we're going to multiply it by how many days are in a year. In this case, there are 365 days in a year. So basically, we're taking the user's years alive, taking that string, converting it to a number, then multiplying that number by 365, then making a document.write command and outputting that number and a string that we're going to create here. Seems a little bit complicated, but once you get in the hang of doing math and multiplication in JavaScript, it's not too bad. So here we have a nice little program that would tell somebody how many days they've been alive for. Pretty neat. So we're going to finish entering our strings here. Then once we are finished, we can save the program and then test it and see if everything is working correctly. Alright, so let's add in my age, which is 24. We can see I've been alive for 8,760 days. That seems like a long time. Just to be sure though, I'm going to pick another number and enter it in here. And we can see that with 2, our multiplication is correct. So this program is working exactly as we intended to. Let's do one more, just to be sure. Alright, awesome. Everything's working perfectly. You are now ready to work with the math object, which is very important for doing calculations in JavaScript. I'll see you guys in the next video.